Sports fans, we are live. Welcome to the Sports Behavior Podcast. I'm your host, OG the Beast. Look, y'all know how I get down, man. Dubs in the chat if you can hear me, man. I don't see no comments. There must be something wrong with the little comment thing, but we gonna get the dice rolling. We definitely okay. There it go. Now it's starting to rain in. What up, Ben? What's popping, man? I ain't seen you in here in a while. What's going down? For those that don't know, we are discussing the new and improved top 10 players in NBA history right here, right now. And I'm not only going to discuss it, I'm going to take the time to elaborate on why I have the players where I have them. So shout out to the loyals over there on YouTube. Everybody that's tapping in on YouTube, don't forget to leave a like if you haven't already. Sports Behavior Podcast, youtube.com/Sports Behavior Podcast. Go ahead and drop us a follow over there. You know what I'm saying? What's going on, Terrell? Shout out to the loyals that constantly come to this chat. You know, every time I'm ready to stream live here on Twitch. Shout out to you guys. I love you guys just as much as I love those guys over there at YouTube. But y'all know why we here, man. We discussing this top 10 all time. And I think this is something, it's also something else I want to discuss about this Steph Curry, this narrative that everybody's been trying to create lately about Stephen Curry not being a point guard, right? I kind of want to dead that narrative. I want to have a discussion about it. But shout out to everybody that's joining, man, and let's get straight into it, right? At 10, I have Tim Duncan. Now, let me take the time to put this in. Give me some time, right? I got Tim Duncan at 10. And I know a lot of people probably going to be mad at that. A lot of people probably going to rant and rave at the fact that I got Duncan at 10. It is what it is, though. I got my reasons for why I have Duncan where I have him, right? Let's place this guy first and let's get it into him, right? People going to be mad at this. Why do you have Duncan at 10? That makes no sense. Tim Duncan, I feel like, could have been better or was supposed to be better than he actually was, right? He's a top 10 player of all time. He has all the accolades, all the totals. But Tim Duncan's also played 19 seasons in the NBA. Nothing wrong with that. But his peak was only 8 to 9 years long. A lot of these guys that I have ahead of Tim Duncan completely dominated, especially in their peak. And I feel like Tim Duncan's peak was very pedestrian. 22 points, 12 rebounds on 50% shooting. 15-time all-defensive team, and I think that's a little bit skewed, to say the least, right? Think about it. For the all-NBA defensive team, you get 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center. So who in Tim Duncan's era was competing for defensive all-NBA teams? It was only him and Kevin Garnett, right? How many times did both of those guys make the all-defensive first team together? A lot. Imagine if they classified Tim Duncan as a center and he had a whole slew of defensive guys to go up against. Now you're talking about the Ben Wallaces and those guys like that. It's a whole different ball game. But when you're classified as a forward and you could put Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan on the same first-team ballot, there's no excuse for why Timmy shouldn't have 15 or what does he have, 9 all defensive first team, 15 total? Not to skew what he had, but we just going to take it for face value on what it is now. At number 9, I have this guy right here, Hakeem the Dream. Now, Hakeem is probably one of the most disrespected superstars in NBA history. I see a lot of people's top 10 that doesn't have this guy on it, and I want to know why. Anybody that believes Tim Duncan isn't a top 10 player of all time, I think you crazy, right? I mean, not Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon. I think you crazy. Hakeem Olajuwon is one of 3 players in NBA history to win a league MVP and DPOY in the same season. Only Michael Jordan and Giannis Antetokounmpo are the other two players to accomplish that feat. That's the conversation that Hakeem Olajuwon is in. Not to mention the 2 rings that he got, I value more than a lot of these guys' championships out here in the way they won them. Hakeem's first ring in 94, he had me, you, and your best friend as his second and third option. Let's just be real talk. While Mike was out, he saw that opportunity to come in here and scoop him up, and he scooped him up. Hakeem Olajuwon, let's put this into perspective. Hakeem Olajuwon retired top 5 in 4 out of the 5 major statistical categories: points, rebounds, blocks, and steals. In case you guys can't fathom what I just said, let me repeat it. Hakeem Olajuwon retired top 10 in 5 of the major statistical categories: points, rebounds, blocks, and steals. Top 10 in 5 of them. To wrap your head around this, he played 18 seasons. LeBron has played 19 seasons. Hakeem Olajuwon still has more steals than LeBron James, and LeBron has played over 150 more games than him and running. And he still got about 60 more steals to go to catch the dream. And he's a center. Let me remind you, arguably the greatest two-way player to ever do it, right? At 8. Let's go 8. At number 8, I got this guy right here. Steph Curry. I got Steph Curry at number 8. Now, we all know what Steph Curry has accomplished throughout his career. And he should be in everybody's top at least 15 consensus prior to what he did this year. Right? But now he's leapfrogged a lot of guys by adding what he added this season to the resume. Steph Curry is the first Kobe Bryant All-Star MVP, the first Magic Johnson Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He also added the Larry O'Brien and the Bill Russell Finals MVP to his resume this season, averaging 25, 6, and 5 this year on solid splits. Curry has one of the greatest single seasons of all time. He's a 4-time champion, Finals MVP. What's understood don't need to be explained, and I don't think this should be explained at 8. It was hard for me to come up with who I wanted to come up with where and how, but I think Stephen Curry deserves this slot above these two guys. I'm sorry. So if you disagree with it, I honestly don't know what to tell you at this juncture, right? In my opinion, he's the second greatest point guard of all time. And we are going to squash this narrative that people are trying to create of Steph Curry not being a true point guard. We at number 7. At number 7, let's see who I got. I got this guy. Larry Bird. Larry Bird at number 7 says a lot because I've seen a lot of lists where Larry Bird is pretty low on a lot of people's lists. And I think him and Magic should be neck and neck considerably. Larry Bird is half of the reason the NBA is in existence today. The 1980s, the NBA was one of the worst times for the league. 70s, 80s. The NBA was in shambles. The NBA was scratching and clawing to try to figure out how to increase ratings. Teams were going under, right? Larry Bird was there for the success. He was the great white hope. Everybody believed that Larry Bird could turn things around, and he did that with the assistance of Magic Johnson. 3-time MVP consecutively. Only player in NBA history to do that, right? Larry Bird never had a bad season. Never had a bad season. Only small forward to average 10 rebounds for his career. He's the only one. No flaws in his game. His peak was incredible. 24, 10, and 6 are his career averages on damn near 50, 40, 90 shooting splits. So not only was Larry a great scorer, but he was also a great facilitator, great passer, solid defender, and he was a hell of a rebounder. No flaws in his game. I got Larry Legend at 7. And like I stated while I was talking about Legend, I got this guy at 6, right ahead of him, simply because I believe his impact was stronger than Larry's, and that's Magic. Magic Johnson is the greatest point guard to ever walk this earth. So anybody that's trying to make a case for Curry at this juncture, no. Magic Johnson exemplified what it means to be a point guard. He's the one that placed the identity on the position that made others follow behind him to say that's what a point guard looks like. So it's because of Magic Johnson why people don't want to declare Steph Curry a point guard, because he exemplified what it means and what it looks like to play the position. 5-time champion, 3-time league MVP, went to the NBA Finals 9 times in his career, all in the 80s, outside of the one he made it to in 91. Magic Johnson has the highest career average assists per game at 11.2. Nobody has averaged more assists for a career than Magic Johnson, which is why I always say averages over totals. Totals show me what you did over a course of a period of time. That's cool, but that's not the end-all, be-all. I would rather have the guy that shows me the higher average than the higher total, simply because the average is going to indicate what you going to give me night in and night out. A total is sustained greatness, right? Tim Duncan's got all the totals in the world, but if you look at his averages, it's like, 10 rebounds, that's cool. 18 points per game, okay. Whatever, you know what I mean? So I would rather take averages over totals, because if you look at totals, John Stockton is the all-time leader in steals. Is he the best defender? No. John Stockton is also the all-time leader in assists. Is he the best passer in league history? No. I would take Magic as a passer over Stockton, but if you look at the averages tell me Magic is the best, right? That's why I honor averages over totals. At number 5, a lot of you may scoff at this. I don't know how you guys may feel about this, but this is my number 5 guy of all time. His name is Kobe Bryant. This is why I have Kobe Bryant number 5. A lot of people rant and rave when you mention the name LeBron James. What's the first thing that comes to mind? The king of the longevity. LeBron James is the king of the longevity. But what about Kobe? Nobody ever mentions Kobe Bryant when we talk about longevity, because Kobe's peak and sustained greatness was some of the best I've ever seen in league history. When you talk about a Kobe Bryant, you talk about a guy that's a 5-time champion. 5-time champion. 7 times he's been to the NBA Finals and won 5 of them. Almost had 2 three-peats. How many people in league history can say they had a three-peat? Bill Russell? Jordan? That's it. And Kobe Bryant. He's on that list. He's on that discussion. Kobe Bryant was with a Shaquille O'Neal who completely dominated his era, right? But Kobe Bryant was one of those guys that said, okay, look, we face adversity. Me and Shaq break up. Let's see if I can rebuild what was destroyed. And he did that. How many players in NBA history can you say had a foundation, a damn good foundation, that fell apart and they had to rebuild it from scratch? Steph just did that. Steph Curry went from last in the league, everybody injured, last in the league, to people saying he'll never make it back to another final, to being an NBA champion and a finals MVP. That's what Kobe did. When Shaq left in 2005 and went and won another ring with D. Wade In 2006, Kobe was in the midst of trial and tribulation. He could have dipped. He could have went to the Bulls like he almost did, but he didn't. He stayed 10 tones down. He said, give me a guy that's going to average 18 and 11, and I promise you a ring. The organization got Pau Gasol, who averaged 18 and 11. Kobe Bryant delivered 3 consecutive NBA Finals appearances, winning 2 of them. The only player in league history to have 2 Hall of Fame careers with 2 different numbers. 2 numbers retired. The disrespect for Kobe Bean stops now. Tired of it. Kobe Bryant had a 14-year – Kobe Bryant had a – let's dumb it down. Kobe Bryant had a 12-year prime. A 12-year prime in which he averaged 27 – I'm sorry. Kobe Bryant had a 14-year prime. I was right. Kobe had a 14-year prime in which he averaged 27, 5, and 5 on 45% from the field, 33% from 3, and 84% from the free throw line. Shout out to Kobe Bean, man. I'm tired of the disrespect for Kobe Bean, bro. Like, it's crazy. But as crazy as that is, the guy I got 1 slot ahead of Kobe is definitely going to shock y'all. And that's Shaq. People always ask me, why you got Shaq so high? Because Shaquille O'Neal is the most dominant player of all time. Him and Wilt Chamberlain share that throne. But I'm going to give the edge to Shaq. Shaq was a man amongst boys from the moment he walked through the door. Unlike Kobe, who needed time to mature coming straight out of high school. First year, Kobe averaged 7. Second year, Kobe averaged 18. Third year is when he started to pick up his play and become the guy that we saw during that 14-year stretch Kobe had. But Shaquille O'Neal was the man straight out the gate, one of the longest primes we've seen in league history. Shaq got injury-riddled later on in his career, but Shaquille O'Neal, on a per-game basis and his dominance, he was a man amongst boys. We talking about a 3-time consecutive champion, 3-peat. We just talked about that. How many guys in league history can say they had a 3-peat? Hear me out. Froby, hear me out. How many guys in league history can say they had a 3-peat? Shaq can say he completely dominated in his 3-peat. Shaq has one of the greatest playoff runs and finals performances in league history in the year 2000. Man averaged like 41 and 17. Shaq was incredible. We talking about a guy in Shaquille O'Neal who had a 12-year prime where he averaged 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks on 56% from the field. Nobody could stop this dude. The Diesel was unguardable. You lucky he got a toe injury. Very lucky. Shaq had a long prime, and people don't give him credit for that. People do not give him credit for that. Shaq, the only reason I have Shaq ahead of Kobe is because they played together. And when they played together, Shaq was the better player. Albeit, we look at his career, we can't say Shaq won all of those rings because of Kobe. Shaq was the man on that team, right? Kobe put in his work now. It's kind of like the Steph and KD thing. KD was the man on that team, but while KD was giving you 35, 10, and 6 in the finals, Steph was right behind him, giving him 28, 8, and 8. Nah, don't get it twisted. Kobe held his own, but Shaq was the man on that team. And now we get into the consensus top 3. Everybody should know where I'm going with this because this should be consensus. We shouldn't have to debate or argue with who the top 3 players of all time is. At 3, I got Kareem. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar could make a legitimate case to be the greatest player of all time. But I'm going to tell you why he's not in that 1 or 2 conversation because I've seen people try to make the case for why Kareem should be the GOAT. Here's why. For one, he played in the worst era in NBA history, and that's the cocaine era in 1970s. Guys was just snorting coke and hooping, right? Nobody took ball seriously in the 1970s. And not only that, Kareem played in this era, and he didn't dominate that era. Maybe there would be an exception if Kareem Abdul-Jabbar can honestly say he dominated the 70s. If Kareem dominated the 70s, then maybe it would force my hand to say, look, even though it was the worst era in basketball, he still dominated it. But he didn't. In those 10 years, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the number 1 or the number 2 seed 7 out of those 10 years. That lets me know you had a respectable squad with you, right? If you were able to be that productive as an individual, you had a respective squad with you. Why didn't you win more championships? Kareem won 1 chip in the 70s, and that was 1971, I believe, with Oscar Robertson in his last season. You've only won 1? To put that into perspective, Wilt Chamberlain's era was the 1960s, and he won more championships in Kareem's era than he did, and he only played 3 years into that decade. Put that into perspective. All I'm saying is, if Kareem Abdul-Jabbar dominated the 70s like he was supposed to, I believe Kareem should have at least got 3 chips in the 70s. If he was that good, if he was that dude, he should have at least got 3 or 4 chips in the 70s. Then we're not having this conversation. He gets magic. The rest is history. Not to mention, he's a 6-time champion and only has 2 finals MVPs. That automatically disqualifies him from this 1 and 2 discussion, because these 2 guys that I'm talking about in that 1 and 2 slot have all the finals MVPs for every single one of their championships. And those are the only 2 guys in league history that can say that to have 3 or more rings. The only 2 guys. Number 2. I got the man. Spelled his name wrong. I got LeBron James at 2. Now, this, I don't mind which way you have it. You know, if you're a LeBron fan, whatever. If you're a Jordan fan, whatever. So this is not up for debate. If you got LeBron 1, Jordan 2, it's fine. It's actually a debate. If you got Jordan 2, LeBron 1, it doesn't matter to me. I would like to hear your argument as to why you think one is better than the other, because there is an argument for that. There's an argument to be made for that. But if we're talking about just sheer greatness, nothing trumps what these 2 guys have done in their careers. Nothing. LeBron James will retire probably top 10 in every statistical category when it's all said and done, because he's going into his 20th season, coming off a season in which he averaged 30, 7 and 6. And I don't see him slowing down. LeBron James, we talked about Shaq's peak. We talked about Kobe's peak. We talked about Magic and Bird's peak. We talked about Duncan's peak or lack thereof and Hakeem's peak. Let's talk about LeBron James's peak. The single greatest peak of all time. The longest peak of all time. LeBron James's longevity has no longer become a crutch like people like to use it as when they debate him versus Jordan. That is not a crutch, because LeBron ain't just coasting like Tim Duncan did his last 10 years, averaging 18 and 8, 19 and 11. LeBron can't average 19 and 11 and win championships like Tim Duncan could. LeBron has to be 25 plus, 6 or 7 rebounds, 6 or 7 assists on great efficiency. He has to be that in order for his team to win. And that's just who he is. That's what he demands. LeBron James is the first player in NBA history to have 30,000, 10,000, 10,000. A feat that probably will never be accomplished again. He will be the all-time leading scorer. I believe LeBron James will probably end his career with 40,000, 13,000, and 12,000. Something crazy. Like, there'll never be another LeBron James. He's a generational talent. Most complete player I've ever seen in my life. To couple that with efficiency, nobody trumps LeBron James when it comes to that. But this guy at number 1, we talk about peaks. We talk about peaks. We talk about peaks. Jordan never disappointed on any facet of the game. One of the few players in league history, like I mentioned with Hakeem, Defensive Player of the Year and MVP in the same season. He's one of 5 guys to have those 2 awards, period. He's the only player in NBA history to lead the league in scoring while winning Defensive Player of the Year. Jordan is the only player in league history to have 30,000 points with a Defensive Player of the Year. Jordan is the greatest perimeter defender the league has ever seen. Jordan is the greatest two-way player the league has ever seen. Him and Hakeem Olajuwon can tussle back and forth for who's number 1. Maybe one goes to the guard, one goes to the big. We can keep them split. I don't care what y'all want to say about Scotty this, Gary Payton that. Michael Jordan is the greatest two-way player the league has ever seen. You will never find a guy that can put the ball in the hole and defend on the other end as great as this guy right here. 10-time scoring champion, the single greatest scorer of all time. It's not a debate. We could debate skill set, who's more of a talented scorer, but if you want to debate sheer score, there's not a better scorer than Michael Jordan in league history, and the numbers back up my assessment. 30 points per game average, highest in league history. 2.5 steals on average for a career. That's the 3rd highest in league history. 32,000 points, 6,000 rebounds, 6,000 assists for Michael Jordan's illustrious career. 6-time champion, 6-time finals MVP. All in 12 seasons. You want to talk about peak? You want to talk about sustained greatness? Name me a time Jordan ever disappointed. The biggest disappointment you can name on Jordan's resume is in 95 when they lost to the Magic. That's the biggest disappointment you could pull out. What you going to say? Him getting swept by Larry Bird? Him getting swept by arguably the greatest team of all time? Do people penalize LeBron for that in 2017 when he got swept by Golden State? No. I'm not going to penalize LeBron for that because that's arguably the greatest team ever put together. And you could argue legitimately LeBron had way more help in that series than Mike did. We could have this debate back and forth all day long. But just to keep it a buck, these are my top 10 players of all time. Duncan, Hakeem, Curry, Larry Legend, Magic, Kobe, Shaq, Kareem, LeBron, and, of course, Michael Jordan. Let me read what some of y'all been talking about. I ain't been able to catch up to the comments because I've been trying to get this list off. Curry better than Larry? Nah, man, not right now. 3 straight MVPs, man. Curry don't even have 3 MVPs. His averages are also better. His career averages are also better than Curry's. I'm not mad at that, OG. Appreciate that, Terrell. Let me see who's 7. You see Larry Bird. Curry should be 7. I mean, it's up for debate, man. I'd like to see y'all lists. But it could go either way, facts. Kobe, yes, sir. I love it so far, OG. Appreciate that, Ben. While being elite defensively, Shaq over Kobe. You don't like that? They played together, man. Whether it be in Kobe's prime or not, they played together. And Shaq was the man on that team. Not only that, but his resume is impeccable. It's not like a Kevin Durant, Steph type situation where, KD was the better player, but, Steph has the better resume than Kevin Durant. Steph has double the rings, more MVPs. I mean, we can't say that for Kobe. They got the same amount of MVPs. They both got 1. Kobe got 1 more ring than Shaq. But when Shaq played with Kobe, he was the man. So that's why I got Shaq over Kobe. I had to do that respectively. Shaq is the most dominant player ever. Sustained greatness seems not to matter as much to you, which I can understand. You're going to have to elaborate on that, Mark Jenkins. You're going to have to let me know what you mean by that, because sustained greatness means a lot to me. Who are you referring to? Wilt's whole career was a lie. But look, Wilt was in my top 10 before Steph. That's the guy that got bumped out. Wilt Chamberlain was a man amongst boys. He's 11 for me. You can't deny what Wilt Chamberlain brought to the game. Tim Duncan contained Shaq multiple times. Yeah. Well, Tim Duncan ain't nowhere near the guy Shaquille O'Neal was. Nowhere near. I would take Shaq's career. I would take Shaq's 12-year stretch over Tim Duncan's 19-year career. I swear to God. Give me Shaq's first 12 years over Tim Duncan's whole career. Go look at Tim Duncan's back half of his career. 18 and 11, still winning 60 games. Can you imagine if Kobe was giving you 18 points and 11 assists? You think he'll be winning 50-plus games? Nah, Kobe had to be a dog. What would you say if LeBron was giving you 17 and 8? Still winning 60 games. What that look like? That's Tim Duncan's whole back half of his career. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. Where you got Wilt and Bill, let me tell you something about Bill Russell. Sometimes when you evaluating top 10 players of all time, right, the numbers are so close. Not only that, the accolades are so close that you literally have to decide it by A, the eye test, or B, who the hell was the better player? Shit. Bill Russell was garbage, but I'm going to respect him because he had 11 in his era. But Bill Russell was garbage. The man shot 42% from layup range. The man was shooting layups 42% at a 42% clip. That's terrible. Bill Russell played in a league where the possessions was at an all-time high. We're talking about 150 possessions a game. And he never averaged 20 points per game in a regular season. Also, he was shooting a low percentage from layup. He's not that guy, pal. He's not that guy, to reiterate that meme. Bill Russell is not that dude. He's garbage. You at least got to be good to be in my top 10. Yeah, he was solid defensively, but I'm not finna put Dennis Rodman in my shit. No. Like, we're not finna do that. Bill Russell was a defensive guy who was scrappy as hell. He was DeAndre Jordan. He was Andre Drummond. He was Ben Wallace. We're not finna do that. Like, we definitely not finna do that. Out of respect for Bill Russell, he has 11. But he was garbage on the court. And I'm not putting that man in my top 10. Straight like that. Point blank. I know you said LeBron and Jordan are interchangeable at 1 and 2. But is there anything LeBron can do to separate himself to be alone at the top? Maybe another ring, 40,000, 12,000, 12,000, MVP. That's a great question. Shout out to Mr. Finesse RL. That is an incredible question. And I've answered this before, right? To me, what I think LeBron has – first of all, I don't think LeBron could ever surpass Jordan's era, his aura, I meant. LeBron could never surpass Jordan aura-wise because he's got the shoes. He's a billionaire. He dominated. It's going to be very hard for LeBron to compete with Jordan's aura. Look at the top 75 that went down, right? Just a few months back. The top 75. Look at the response that Jordan got when he walked out. And this is in LeBron's house. They were louder for Jordan in LeBron's house than they were louder for LeBron in his own house. When I saw that, I said, damn, LeBron may be able to do enough to surpass Jordan basketball-wise. But according to what I'm seeing right here on this top 75, his aura, his presence will always be bar none. And that's something I don't think LeBron will ever be able to surpass. Now, if he gets 40,000, 12,000, 12,000, 5 rings, 5 finals MVPs, all-time leading scorer, all-time playoff scorer, playoff rebounder, playoff assist man, it's going to be hard for me to debate against LeBron for Jordan. It's going to be very hard. But that aura that Jordan possesses when he walks into a room is different, man. It's different. And I don't think that's something that LeBron James can surpass. That's just what it is. I'm answering all questions right now. So whatever you got, rein them in, man. I'm answering all questions right now. Bill Russell ain't top 5. His resume is better than Shaq. You crazy. Bill Russell got 11 rings, man. He got a few MVPs, but 11 rings, man. That's it. That's what he's known for. Like, Bill Russell dominated in an era where there was only 8 teams, and his best competition was Wilt Chamberlain. And Wilt gave him 50 and 20 every time he saw him. Go look at what Wilt averaged against Bill Russell. It's like 30 and 20 on 50% shooting. He couldn't mess with him. Now imagine if Wilt Chamberlain had the team Bill Russell had. Might I add, Bill Russell never played with less than 4 Hall of Famers on one squad. Y'all be complaining about Kevin Durant and them? Back in that era, Bill Russell had nothing less than 4 Hall of Famers on one team for his entire career. At most, he had 8 guys on his squad that were Hall of Famers. 8 guys. So we can't say that for Wilt. Wilt was outmatched. He was 20 times better than the player Bill Russell was. And that's a fact. Timeout, defense, intangibles, leadership, eye test? Yes. Don't let OG get started with Bill Russell? Damn right. Tim Duncan numbers aren't eye-popping. That's a damn right. Mark Jenkins, go look at the record. Go look at the stat sheet. His numbers don't do it for me. He was coasting. Point blank. Tim Duncan won a matchup more times than not against Shaq, but that doesn't mean everything. Just clearing that Tim Duncan's on that level. I'm not saying Tim Duncan 8. He's a top 10 player of all time. We're not going to sit here and argue whether he deserves to be in the top 10 or not. I just think he's slightly overrated because a lot of people, or some people as of recently, have Tim Duncan in their top 5, and I'm not putting Duncan over Larry, over Magic. And then when you look at him and Hakeem, it's real close, right? Him and Hakeem is very close. So what separates that is who's the better player? And Hakeem, offensively and defensively, is better than Tim Duncan. When I watch both of those two guys play, I say, give me that guy in that red and that yellow. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. And if you disagree with that, I don't know what else to say. You're right about Russell and Wilt's era. Yes. But here's the slight and the difference on Kareem versus Wilt and Russell. Russell dominated that garbage-ass era. Kareem didn't even dominate the 70s. He put up great numbers, but what did you win? You was letting the Knicks, Walt Frazier and them get titles. You was letting Wes Unseld get titles. You was letting Wilt Chamberlain, albeit Wilt Chamberlain at the ass end of his career, get titles. You was letting Jerry West win. Who else won in the 70s? You was letting, like, guys that had no business the guys that wasn't better than you, they was winning on your watch. He got 1 ring in 10 years in the 70s. 1. I'm sorry. He needed to do better than that. You know how many Jordan got in the 90s? When Jordan hit his peak, he won 6. Like, come on now. Curry has 4 titles in 6 years. That's what Shaq won 3 in a row in the 2000s. Kobe won 5 in 7 years. 5 in 10 years, I'm sorry. 5 in 7 tries. That's what you call dominating your era. That's what they got. Larry Bird won 3 in 10 years. Magic won 5 in that same span. Kareem won 1 in his era. If anybody's trying to tell you the 80s was his era, it wasn't. That was Bird and Magic's era. Kareem's era was the 70s. He won 1. But by the graces of God, he has 6 championships. 5 of them came in the 80s because of who? Number 32, Magic Johnson. Right? That's why Kareem only has 2 finals MVPs. 1 in the 80s and 1 in the 70s. Because if it was his game and he was the man, he would have more than 2 finals MVPs. He's only got 1 finals MVP as a Laker. And he won 5 of his league MVPs in the 70s. So That's just what I'm saying. Let's look at some of these comments before we get up out of here. I was gonna talk that Steph Curry, but we're gonna say that for another pod. I'm gonna probably come back on here maybe in a few days and talk about Steph Curry and the narrative of him being a point guard or not, because we running over. We got some good talk today. We got some real good talk today. But we need to put our respect on Kobe. The 2000 era was the toughest era in the NBA. Put some respect on his name. Same with Duncan. Duncan is a top 10 player all time. Yo, NBA dynasty question. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Bulls, the Warriors, and the Spurs are the greatest dynasties we've witnessed. But to me, the Spurs dynasty is the only one out of the 5 to never go back-to-back. Fact. Don't get me wrong. They were always a good team, but never good enough to go back-to-back. Your thoughts on this? Honestly, me and my boy KB was just talking about this earlier. That's another knock on Tim Duncan, because going back-to-back shows dominance. Going back-to-back shows dominance, right? They can win every other year, but the Spurs never went back-to-back. Now, how impressive would that have been in Kobe's era with Shaq and, with the teams that was put together? They was basically catching the New Jersey Nets in the NBA Finals and stomping a mud hole in them boys. I think they beat the Nets twice. Nets was garbage. Straight up. Nets was garbage. I'm sorry, RJ, but the Nets was garbage. Gabricio. That's basically who they was stomping the mud hole in. LeBron gave them a few. They caught the 07 Cavs. Like, who did Tim Duncan really beat in the finals? About time he got another ring at the 07. That was in 2014 against LeBron when D Wade was over a cliff, over the hill, and LeBron did all he could, averaging 28, 7, and 6 on great efficiency splits, and they beat him by a record margin, 15 points per game. The Spurs did. Impressive victory, but we can poke some holes in Tim Duncan's finals opponents. Let's just be real talk. But, again, he's done enough in his career to make this list, and not everybody's on this list. There's only 10 guys strong, as you can see. So, I mean, the dynasty is a knock on Tim Duncan, to say the least. Same with Kobe. Kobe went back-to-back. Kobe went back-to-back in 2009 and 2010. He was still the best player in the world at that time. He went to 3 consecutive finals. Remember, in 2008, he saw Boston. That's Paul Pierce's first ring, KG, Ray Allen. And then in 2009, LeBron was supposed to meet him there. That's when the NBA had LeBron and Kobe commercials with the puppets, the Nike puppets. Remember that shit? Y'all might be too young, but in 2009, it was supposed to be LeBron and Kobe, but LeBron took that L in the Eastern Conference Finals to Dwight Howard, and it ended up being Dwight Howard and LeBron and Kobe. Now imagine if LeBron would have made it, albeit Kobe would have stomped that head in, and that would have been another L on LeBron's resume. So we may be thanking God that LeBron didn't make the finals that year, because he definitely would have got a mud hole stomped in his ass by Kobe Bean. Kobe wasn't going that season. He was not going. Man amongst boys. Then in 2010, he got his revenge against Boston. Beat them boys in 6, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So Kobe definitely went back-to-back without Shaq. That's impressive, bro. Y'all don't understand how impressive that is. And people say, well, Kobe played with Shaq. Is that really a positive? Can that be a net negative? That he had another all-time great on his squad? That's taken away from the points, rebounds, and assists and blocks he could have had. That's just me. And still had 2 Hall of Fame careers back-to-back with that. Tubby, I appreciate the resub, man. 5 months. I appreciate you, man. I definitely appreciate y'all, man. If y'all not following the YouTube channel, please go ahead and drop it a follow. If you can't catch these episodes live right here on Twitch, we do this spontaneously, man. I just come on here and I just want to talk basketball, football with y'all. Football season, the off season is up and running and is diving. We about to dive into some football real soon. So if you a football fan and you love you some football, make sure you tune in here, man, and just chop it up with me. Have these conversations. These conversations are golden. They never get old to me, man. They never get old to me. If y'all ain't following me on TikTok, man, y'all already know what it is. OG_sports on TikTok. Sports Behavior Podcast on YouTube. The link is in the bio on Twitch, man. Go drop a sub over there, man. I appreciate every single one of y'all for tuning in tonight. I'm going to get the hell on up out of here. It's getting late. I'm going to answer this last question. I've said this countless times. If you're knocking Kobe for playing with Shaq, you got to do the same to Shaq. Facts. But Shaq was the man, albeit Shaq was the man on that squad. But if y'all watching this on YouTube, man, don't forget to drop a like. If you made it this far, I appreciate you, man. I love you more than you know, man. But, yeah, be ready, man. When them notifications pop, y'all get y'all asses in here, man, and let's chop it up over some football, some basketball. Y'all know how we rocking. OG the Beast out, man. I love every single one of y'all. What's up, y'all? OG the Beast here, and I appreciate you tapping into the Sports Behavior Podcast. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you. But if you want to stay connected with me, go ahead and drop me a follow on each and every one of these socials. That's how you stay locked in, man. I appreciate y'all stopping in. We talk football. We talk basketball here. And once again, you are greatly appreciated for stopping by. OG out.